Hello. Oh, let's see.
Hi, Kate.
Hi.
Hi, Stella.
Hi.
Let's see. Let me get all the documents
Is
up.
our meeting 1 hour long, Kate?
Ideally, yes. Some of us might stick around at the end to work on some budget stuff, but we try to keep our meetings at 1 hour.
Okay.
If at all possible. We have a lot to talk about today, but I'm gonna try to keep it to 5:30.
Okay. Did the grants committee meet on December 1?
Yes. They sure did. All right. All right. Hey, Damon.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Damon.
All right. Stella or Elizabeth, would either of you be willing to take meeting minutes today for our meeting? It would just be like a written play-by-play of what we're talking about.
Do you have a preference, Stella?
Oh, you're muted, Stella.
You're muted.
I was to unmute, but this bar doesn't. So yeah, I can do it.
Thank you, Stella.
Onward is fine.
Here, I'll send it to you in the chat. So what you can do is just here, I'll make a copy of this. And you can do it right on these. So it's essentially a copy of the agenda, but you'll just, anything that comes up in any of these topics, you can just write down anything important that pops up.
And you can tap me for the January minutes if you want.
Thank you so much. All right. So Stella, I'm gonna send this to you in just a moment. I just made a copy of our agenda.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Hi, Amanda.
Good to see you all.
Likewise.
Feels like our commission is getting more and more active.
Yeah, lots going on. My goodness.
Sorry, I missed the meeting last month. A lot. It seems like a lot has happened.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Let's see. So I'm gonna change this so you can edit it. Stella. All right. So Stella, what you can do is you can just take these. This is just the minutes, but just add any sort of commentary, maybe in bold or something next to the agenda, and that way we can have an update as to what was discussed with each of these. But thank you so much, and thank you, Elizabeth, for taking on next month.
Sure.
For all you folks, here is a copy of today's agenda with links included, so it's easy to access. Let's see. There we go, today's agenda.
Thanks, Kate.
So lots to talk about. I know that Terry was planning on joining in today. Brian, is Terry possibly in the attendees by chance?
She is. Would you like a promotion?
Ideally, yes. If you could promote Terry to panelist, that'd be fabulous. Thank you.
That has happened.
Thanks. Hey, Terry.
She has a whole new look.
Elaine Dennis. All right.
Hello.
Hi.
Terry,
I can.
Terry.
welcome back.
Yes,
We
thank
are
you.
going to let you leave.
I've been listening in, but I couldn't tell you I was there. So.
You have emeritus status.
I know.
Yeah.
True. Well, thank you for joining us. And yeah, a lot has happened since we last met. Holy cow. Which is fantastic. All good things. So I think if you guys are cool with it, if we have some more folks jump in, I know Neely was the only person who reached out and said that she definitely couldn't make this meeting today, but if anyone else pops in, that would be cool. I think Adrian said she was coming, so I'm surprised she's not here, but we'll just catch her up until then. Well, do we actually, I don't know if we have enough people here to approve anything.
Quorum?
It's like we have 7.
Let me see.
I think you should.
Do we? Okay. I guess you're right. All
I
right.
think 7 should be enough.
I think so too. I don't know if anyway, I'll get rolling if you guys are cool with it. Hopefully you guys had a chance to check out last month's minutes. Would anyone motion to approve last?
I'd like to make a request, a suggestion first.
Sure.
Do we do that before or after the motion to approve?
Are you cool with the minute? Like, is there something?
Yeah, I'd like to ask that the date be added.
Oh, that would be a great idea, Elizabeth. Thank you. Yes.
And perhaps a title of CSCC monthly meeting or something at the top to just make sure to clarify that these are the minutes from the meeting on November 17th.
Sure. That's the name of the document actually, but I'm happy to put them into the document as well. So let me take a look here.
When you print the document, which is, I do print everything because it's better for me. It doesn't print out with the title and the date.
I gotcha. Well, updating now. Thank you for mentioning that. That is good to note. So title, date. Was there anything else you wanted to add to that, Elizabeth?
Let's see. I don't think so. Well, I wasn't there. So
I understand.
I'll let somebody else move. Motion to approve.
Seconded. Did we do the first or no?
Waiting on the first.
Motion to approve.
Second that. Sweet. All right. We have approved meeting minutes. Sweet. All right. Moving on. Thank you for that addition, Elizabeth. I should really think of that more. So let's get back to goals. Last month, we really focused on our strategic plan, which is cool. And I know that Damon went into it with a lot of great thoughts of what to take out and put in, but let's get back to those goals and just kind of read through them and make sure we're all on the same page with our goals for the upcoming year. And then approve those unless we have any issues. And thank you all, city reps, for adding to those two. They were fabulous. So Elizabeth, Dave, and Stella, awesome. Thank you, thank you. All right, let's take a look here. You guys are cool that I'm gonna share my screen. Probably will make it easier. Hey, Adrian. Welcome. All right. Let's see. Grants committee. Forgive me, I forget. Did you guys start going over these last go around?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're muted, Amanda. There you
Go ahead. Go ahead, Damon.
go. Let's see. I mean, yeah, it looks like we need to do a little editing here. I mean, we did agree with the 4,000 award amount with a total of 16,000.
Okay. So I think that was highlighted because there was a question about it. Is that correct?
Right.
Should we remove the
At the
highlight?
time of the retreat, we can just remove the highlight.
Awesome. Okay. Sweet. Oops.
I'm just reading over it quickly to make sure we have everything.
Yes. I think the rest is okay, except we haven't established a deadline for the scholarship award process for 2021.
Is it January 15th? Is that what, I mean, I know we talked about around that time, but did we decide that we wanted to extend it?
No, we kept that timeline. When we met on December 1st, we confirmed December 15th as the the deadline. We can revisit that though, based on kind of when the announcement is now set to go out. So I think we might consider pushing that back by just a few days, but I think we're mostly on track.
Is the scholarship award different than the grants?
Yeah, this is the travel scholarship program, Adrian, that that we started working on last year to award travel scholarships to allow those who have fewer means to still be able to participate in Sister Cities activities on a scholarship application basis. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I was also thinking grant process. I was not thinking scholarship. Yeah, we definitely need a little bit more time to figure that one out. On that subject, though, we met. We being Kate and I met with the Virginia State representative to the Sister City Commission, and we were talking to him about him helping us determine a process for that based on work that other other commissions have done. So we have not yet completed that process of seeing that, but I think we should go ahead and set at least a goal, which is what this is. Amanda, what do you think would be reasonable by the end of February? And Adrian too, I think you were. What do you think?
Actually, let's see. I'm just looking at our other grants priorities. I mean, we have to get through the whole grant cycle still in the first part of the year. So we were hoping to do a presentation to the full commission on grants on February 16th. So which can take up a good part of that meeting. So it just may be hard to have discussion of the scholarships program at the same time and do those together. We could try, it would be a push, or we maybe table that for March. I guess the question is though, I think especially Dave, I know there's a Winneba trip coming up in April still that's on the schedule, I think, as of last report. So it would be good for us to have resolved this travel scholarship issue before the next Sister Cities trip takes place.
Well, just to be clear though, the scholarships for that trip have already been awarded, so
okay.
They carry
right.
over.
So there's nothing pending. Right. That's right. Okay. Thanks.
So there probably won't be any other travel between now. Well, you know, in the very near future, we could push it back to April if we wanted.
I think that might be more realistic so that we can get through the grant cycle here for this year, for 2021. And then we come back to this scholarship award process and take that up as our next order priority. If there's nothing pressing in terms of travel. But hopefully that will be resuming by the latter part of 2021. So it would be good to move that forward. In the meantime, I think our grants committee can start to work on that or revisit that, but maybe not ready to have a full presentation to the commission until April.
Okay. Seems reasonable. So complete that process or complete that by April then.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whose thing is there right now.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. So 11. I don't know who that is, but if you want to add April, that would be fantastic. I have no idea who that is. I don't know why it's not loading your name. But anyway, sweet. Thank you.
Do we want to pick a specific date? Like that meeting date in April? Or just put April?
April's fine.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Sweet. All right. Nice work. So those are the grants committee goals. And you guys did a lot of work this past month too on December 1st to get a lot of stuff done. So we're excited to hear all about that too coming up. later on today. Communications and Outreach Committee goals. Any, yeah, they're on 2 different pages, sorry. Website content updates. Michael, I know that you did a lot of work in the past 24 hours on that. Can you update us on?
Yeah. So I went through and fixed a bunch of the broken links. There is still some content updates that I'd like to work with some folks on. Mostly making sure that the text that's there is correct. And then with an eye towards creating release candidates, using that mechanism to do future updates. That means that, you know, if there's a problem, we can find it sooner before it goes widespread. The information page for Huehue is up there now. The text on it is not final, and the page for Huehue is not finished yet. I need some help with getting the content updated on that. And the same thing for tracking down the grants and awards for 2019 through 2020, and doing an update about those. But right now, the main grants and awards page points to the grant application and has the January 15th deadline on it.
Awesome. Thank
May
you.
I make a comment?
Mhm.
Michael, this is Elizabeth Smiley.
Hi.
Hi. I can be in touch with you directly if you're interested in this, and unless there's objection from the commission as a whole. One of our grant recipients from 2019, Stacy Evans, who did a photography and collage partnership with students and artists in Besançon, has offered to give us, I suppose, photographs that we can upload to our website if we're interested.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
And so if you're willing, I'll just reach out to you independently and try to get the two of you connected.
Okay.
And if there, you know, if there's anyone in the commission that wants to sort of like, you know, weigh in on that, like they love the idea, they hate the idea, now I suppose now's the time to speak up. But otherwise, it seems like it helps to update the content with one of our recent grant recipients' work.
And so
For the Besançon sister city.
right. And so some of those photos, we would want to put them probably up in the Google Drive so that they're more available for some of the other
Publications
to use as well.
Yes.
And have that be kind of the master repository. And then anything that's going up on the web page can also get updated there too.
Great. Thanks.
I was wondering if, I think that idea of putting images or on the Google Drive is fantastic. That way we sort of have a collection of them and they can be used for different purposes or by different people. And in that same vein, I think, Michael, I'm not sure if you mentioned this in your email, the idea of having another person be able to make adjustments to the website.
Yep.
And I wonder, I think that would be a good goal, to have a second person get up to speed on how they might make changes when needed, so that it doesn't, you know, it's a lot of pressure on you, on one person. And especially this last week when we were, you know, trying to do this fast turnaround. So would anyone like to be that person, or do we just simply make that a goal for now and figure that out?
So I have a suggestion. There is a new candidate for membership on the commission, and he has significant experience in computer programming and all kinds of computer related work. And while he has not been approved yet by the city council, he is the only candidate for that particular role. So it wouldn't be the first time that someone has not been approved, but hopefully he will be. And if he is, that might be a good initial role for him. once he's on board.
Yeah, and I think that sounds good. I will say, you don't have to you don't have to have a lot of HTML, coding experience to work with Wix, but it is a little tricky to feel your way around its interface and get everything lined up and do the things you want it to do. But it is easily attainable by others as well. So, and Adrian, to that, I also put the current password and username up in that Word doc or Google Doc that I think Stella or Kate created last month, that has the passwords for Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
Oh, great, great. Yeah, Kate, I believe, sent that to us as a committee.
Okay.
Yep. All sounds great though. And that's a great idea, Damon, with the Data Science Institute guy who hopefully gets approved. I don't see why not, but
Could whoever has access now to that Google Doc or was editing before, could they put in 2021 goals to how would we phrase it, that we have a second Wix adept commission number for needed adjustments on website, something like that.
Yeah, we can put that in there. I mean, we can just add that as another goal if you guys want to. If that's something you guys wish to do as a specific set goal. Yeah, I mean, is that a goal that you guys want to add to this list of the 3 goals you have? Is to add another person who is in charge of the website?
I would vote yes on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily restrict it to any one of the things. I would say having a primary and secondary person for social media would be helpful.
Okay. So identify a primary and secondary person for social media. Yeah, that makes sense. Where would you guys want to add that? Just under goal 3, so goal 4?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, goal 4. Identifying website I don't know. What would be a good?
Maybe it's simply identify secondary person to help manage website, something that simple. Because we know the primary person.
All right. Identify secondary person to manage website.
Now, this is the sister cities website, not the commission website. I don't know if we.
Right.
We don't have access to the commission website, and all updates to that are requests into Max.
Yep. This is just the secondary one that I think Pat made a couple years ago or a year or 2 ago. So yeah.
And then do we have anybody that has secondary access to the Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook? I think those are the only other ones we have.
So that is something for the for your committees. So the 3 of you have access, like that's sort of your role within that committee, is to be communications and outreach.
Okay.
So if you want to identify one person who's like the primary person with doing those sort of outreach things, that's something that's within your committee. But yeah. Certainly anyone within that committee, like any of you are welcome to post to social media. Stella, I know you have, as the head of the communications and outreach, you have an admin access to Facebook for any of those posts through the Sister Cities Commission. Yeah.
Kate, the reason I mentioned this, the Sister City website is because when I read that CSCC, I think of the commission website, the
Okay.
actual government one.
Okay.
So I
So,
think it's important that we distinguish it.
okay. What are we calling, just secondary website or?
Can I say something?
Sure.
I mean, normally we would just call the city website the city website. Because it's not actually a commission website, it's a page on the city's website. Does that make sense? So the CSCC website is the one that was created by Amy and Pat. The one that the city maintains, is a website for the entire city. And the commission part is just one page of it. Each of the commissions that the city has, each board and commission has a page as part of that.
Could we term it to manage Wix Sister City website?
Sure.
And then as soon as we see Wix, we know that that is.
Yep, that's fine. All right, added Wix to that.
Have we ever thought about just asking the city to just put a link to our website? on the
Fair.
city? I mean, that's what the Housing Authority does now. They used to have a page on the city's website, but the Housing Authority didn't have access to it and created their own page, just like we've done. And now the city just puts a link to our page. So we don't have to worry about two separate pages.
At one of our last meetings, Brian and Max were talking to us about the options for either moving our content to the city website. But right now what we've settled on is there is a link from the city website portion about sister cities that points to the separate one. And so that's why there's a goal 3 there, the draft a plan for the future, including whether or not we want to move content to the city website. If we were to move it to the city website instead of having a standalone one, there are some kind of pros and cons to that. So
Okay.
wanted to look at that.
Thank you.
Good to know. It is hard to find our website sometimes, the Wix website within that. So it's a good thing to mention. Awesome. These are all fantastic. Let's chug along here so that we have enough time to reach every part of our agenda, or at least attempt to. So let's take a look at the Education Committee goals. So came up with these 3 goals. Hosting virtual interactive events. In the time that we are in now, virtual is the way we got to do it. So coming up with ways in STEM, social studies, to connect virtually with us and our sister cities, as well as hosting a virtual or in-person event, particularly for those who are less engaged or represented by our programming, and eventually plan an educational event that would engage individual local students to enunciate their relationship or connection between Charlottesville and their sister cities. So essay, art, pitch, etc. So a more virtual approach to this for the coming years, since we're unsure of what will happen. Does anyone have any questions or issues with these goals? Pretty straightforward. Spanish speaking sister city committee goals, which I think is going to change soon to Wayway committee, because we got to make a committee for them. And this is another topic of, is the Wayway committee just this committee just renamed, or do we want to have people who are interested in joining our fabulous team? I know Joan isn't here right now, I don't think. Is Joan here? I don't think she is. Dave, is there anything you'd like to share about our Spanish speaking sister city goals?
No, I mean, I think in general it was very well received by City Council. It's good to get that positive feedback, and Jordan did an excellent job presenting it, and Jordan and Kelly Epley did a great job in tandem. So now our work is cut out for us, so now we actually have to do it. So I know we have some sort of next steps laid out in terms of building some connections and formalizing it and eventually bringing it back to council with a formal MOU and declaration and whatnot. But at least this is a huge first step. And as it says, we've got next goals are to be determined. So yeah, we'll work on fleshing those out.
Absolutely. Terry, do you know if we've had any formal contact with Weiwei at any point? No? Okay.
No, the commission didn't have any formal contact, just through Jordan.
So our next steps are to write to their mayor, but we'll get to that shortly. Winneba, Dave, if you're willing to share these, I know you and Nana put these together. Anything you'd like to share in particular about these Winneba goals?
Yeah, so the big one for this year is we are going to be bringing another delegation, assuming we're able to travel, which is looking good right now. So that's very exciting. And most of the folks that were planning to travel in May of last year are still interested in traveling with us in May of this year. So, and that includes several individuals who already received travel scholarships from the commission. So that's in the works. It's been the practice of the commission going back years that each of our sister cities was eligible to apply for up to $1,000 a year for sister city related projects. I don't know if that's something we're going to continue or not, but if we are, for Winneba, our Winneba sister city rep for the last 2 or 3 years, I think, has been asking that money for shipping costs. We ship a huge volume of medical supplies and educational supplies and all kinds of stuff over to Winneba, and it's not cheap to ship it over there. So so I know the budget committee is going to be meeting, or maybe has already met, to look at the budget, and so this is sort of on hold until that budget committee discussion has happened to see if that's something we're going to continue to do. We're really excited about developing an online educational resource. We've had so many great experiences, people that have traveled to Winneba, and we'd like to capture some of that in one place, particularly as it relates to what people have learned and experienced and heard and seen and felt and about the history of the transatlantic slave trade, because that history is very well preserved in Ghana. So in 2021, one of our goals is to develop an online resource. Interestingly enough, since we submitted this goal, I've been informed that every 10th grader in Charlottesville High School this year is going to be reading Homegoing, which is a book about Ghana and about the experience of people captured into slavery from Ghana. And it's a book that we had sort of as a group reading project for our 2018 visit to Winneba, and we also encouraged people in our last visit to Winneba to read that book. So I wish this website was already up, because it would be a great resource for the teachers at CHS to be able to use as they're teaching that book. But anyhow, we're still going to help them out as we can. And then lastly, we've had an open invitation to officials in Winneba to come back to Charlottesville. It's been several years now since Winneba sent a delegation to Charlottesville. So we're going to try again. And I know our mayor is very interested in receiving a delegation and welcoming her peers, the mayor of Winneba to come, and others from Winneba. So we're going to extend another invitation, and hopefully this one will work out. So that's our goals for 2021.
Fabulous. And our hope was to work on financial stuff after this meeting today. I might not be able to stick around for the whole thing, but I know that was part of the plan was to work on budgetary stuff after this to get to point number 2 in your goals, Dave. So Elizabeth?
I did have a question about that, that exact figure, because I was unaware that there was a practice or a standing tradition for each city rep to request up to $1,000 a year. And so I went to the financial paperwork, the budget stuff. I couldn't find that explicitly written into sort of our documentation about spending guidelines or anything. So I was just going to ask for clarification around that.
Yeah, I mean, Terry's here. She can,
Yeah, Terry, for that 1,000 a year allocation to sister cities, how has that worked normally?
It's just normally a line item in our budget that each sister city rep has up to $1,000 of discretionary funds. Now, what that means isn't that they can just spend it on whatever, but that they can come to the group at a meeting and say, you know, I'd like to spend, you know, $300 on tickets to, you know, Monticello for the school group that's visiting, you know, or as Dave said, you know, Winnipeg folks usually, you know, request theirs to cover some of the shipping costs for the shipment that they do each year. So it's been traditionally just part of the budget.
And is that contingent on full funding of the budget request, or has that something that's had to be altered, or we might have to alter this year if we're not fully funded?
That's something that we're going to have to work on as we're thinking of finances for the year ahead. It's hard to predict now because we won't have that decision from council until, I believe, April, if I'm correct with that. So we're going to have to take a look and see, we're going to have to really map this out and see what the year ahead looks like without that 15,000 allocation from the city too. So that's something we're going to need to consider. Yeah, so it's definitely going to be something we consider as we're working on that budget proposal ahead. So by next meeting, assuming we have a chance to work through this and hash out a budget proposal, we should have a good idea of if that 1,000 a year, or perhaps it might be a different number, but whatever that amount is, moving forward for the year.
And do you anticipate that you'll be able to specify for us if that amount was not requested and allocated in a year, whether it carries over or disappears?
Terry, how's that normally handled?
It does not carry over. It has not in the past carried over.
And we're talking calendar year here, right? Or are we talking fiscal year?
Fiscal year.
Okay. Okay.
What is the fiscal year?
July through June.
Thanks.
So we're technically in fiscal year 2020.
21.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's potentially good news for us city reps. I just will welcome a little bit more clarification and kind of guidance on what might really be available to request.
So Besançon, your goals, you have quite a few here.
Sure. Okay. So I do see the goals as sort of an evolving set of goals necessarily, since I'm just sort of, you know, getting up to speed and trying to figure out how to move forward some things that were already on the books that had to be deferred, and begin to think strategically about new goals. And so I probably will be adding to those as we go along. As I think I've already mentioned, there's been a change in leadership in the mayor's office, or, you know, City Hall in Besançon. And as a result, there are new players. There are some continuing players in terms of contacts for us, but there are some new players. And so this fall in particular, I have really taken up, my primary goal is to establish connection with anybody who is newly appointed contacts for us. I have reached out to the mayor's office, and I'm still waiting to hear back about who are going to be our primary contact people. In the same spirit, I felt that it was important to send a letter, a formal letter of greeting to their new mayor on behalf of the Sister City Commission. And the other thing that I've been focusing on over the fall is reconnecting and in some cases rebuilding contacts and relationships with some of our partners in Charlottesville, as well as with individuals who have had involvement with Besançon initiatives over the last several years. And for various reasons, most prominently right now because of the pandemic, may have had to put all those things on hold. So those are goals that I feel like, the first 4 goals that I feel like I can safely and confidently accomplish by the end of, at this point, this month, and we'll carry over goal number 4 into 2021. I have a long list of people that I'm just sort of systematically working through to be in touch with, to just sort of rebuild the alliances between our commission and the folks in Charlottesville who have stakeholders that we already know about, who have been an important part of our support network for the Besançon sister city programs. Part of what I hope to do early in 2021 when get past the holidays is try to determine with the various contacts in the schools, and Neely will probably be helpful to me in this, what the thinking is about trying to get these student exchanges going again in 2021. There are some other exchanges that were already on the books, most notably this musician exchange that started when our delegation went over to Besançon in September 2018. And there was supposed to be a reciprocal visit from a musician that John Dirth actually made connections with and played music with over there. That was supposed to actually happen this past spring. That's obviously been deferred. And it is his hope and plan to be able to put that back into service sometime in maybe the second quarter of 2021, with hopes that they might be able to invite this visiting musician to come over. There would be a series of events that would be connected to that. And with luck, we'll be able to see those in the summertime or maybe fall of the year. There was also supposed to be a chef exchange, and to be perfectly honest, I have no idea where that stands, but that's on my to-do list to determine if that's still in the works, and if in fact that has been completed or not. And then other goals, I'm open to guidance or recommendations or suggestions from the commission or anybody else who's interested. And I'm assuming as we continue to meet, other goals will become more obvious. I did have the opportunity to introduce myself and meet the board of directors of the Alliance Française at their December board meeting. And I hope that I will be meeting with them again, particularly as we get closer to the point of trying to find out what their needs and their goals and their wishes might be in terms of various sister city related projects. They did make a point of asking if we would be bringing interns back over. That's the thing that they in particular have enjoyed sponsoring. But I've told them that we're all exchanges are on hold for the moment. So I think that brings you more or less up to speed, and I'm happy to entertain any questions or comments if anybody has them.
They sound wonderful. That chef one, Terry, was that with?
With Angelo from the IBN.
Oh.
Yes, and it has not happened, but it should. And Elizabeth, Tammy might be a good person to, you could reach out.
Yeah.
Just reach out to Angelo, but
Yeah.
Tammy had been involved with, with him on that as well.
Exactly. That is my plan. I just haven't gotten around to being in
Yeah.
contact with him yet. But I will reach out to him directly to find out, what conversations he's continued to have with the chef in Besançon about that, and see if we can kind of get that back in the pipeline. There, I assume what I'd be very interested in is, trying to work with him to create some community focused events around a chef exchange. So, which is, I think there's a good template for that was what what you did, Terry, when there was a chef exchange between Poggio and Charlottesville. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's an important part of what we're here to do is, not just make it possible for individuals to go back and forth, but to have community involvement, community engagement, and to invite community members to appreciate and enjoy the fruits of such an exchange. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to resurrect that and turn it into something that will benefit the wider community as well.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
My pleasure.
Does anyone have anything to ask or add to our baseline song goals? All right. Poggio, Stella, if you can catch us up on all things Poggio goals.
Yes, so we have to continue the process of naming the honorary street that was started already. And we already sent the application, so we have to see point these. The idea I spoke in the meantime with some officials in Poggio, and they think that they would be interested in reciprocating this because right now, again, even in Poggio, there isn't a street or something else named after Charlottesville, and if there are others similar, there is a street named Virginia. So they were thinking of talking about the next city council. It's possible, not probably a street because in Italy there isn't the possibility of doing the honorary naming. So you actually have to change the name of the street. But we're thinking like a park or something like that. So we'll see if that it's possible. I don't see it very complicated, honestly. So I'll have to talk to them again soon. Another thing is that last year, I mean, this month, they finished doing a movie about Filippo Mattei, which was the person for Giocaiano that came to Charlottesville, and that's how the relationship started. It was subtitled by students at PA. So they told me that the DVDs are ready and they should actually already send them to me. I should have like 10 DVDs or something. I haven't received them yet, but he said that he was going to send them this day. So one idea would be organized viewing of this movie. We will see how.
Does anyone have I'm just curious, Stella, the sound is a little bit tough to catch everything you're saying. And I don't know, I don't have an idea on what you might try, but I know the goals are great.
I don't know, because it might be a problem with, I don't know. Now it's better.
I don't think so. No.
I don't know what to do. I think it's my connection.
Okay.
The goals look really great, though. It looks like you've done a lot of great work there, Stella. And it's exciting that the mayor of Poggio is also interested in reciprocating, which is fabulous.
And
Yeah.
the other thing would be something middle school, because in Poland and high school, it's only a middle school. So it would be interesting to find a middle school here that can do some virtual exchange with the students, like they can meet and talk in English. With our students in Italy, they also study English in middle school, so that would be interesting. So one of the goals would be to find a middle school that could be interested in doing that.
Awesome. It's fabulous. I know Stella cut out a tiny bit there, but does anyone have any questions for Stella or thoughts about Poggio's goals for 2020, 2021?
Stella, once you have more information about the movie and stuff, I can help you. Also, if you want to reach out to see about possibly getting it entered or an application for the film festival.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. So that's a good idea. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you all for sharing. I think that is all of them for now. So that being said, we reviewed our goals. Would someone motion to approve goals for 2020, 2021?
Motion to approve the goals for 2020-21.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Wonderful. Max, is there anything we need to do with that? Is it Max here or is just Brian?
I am. Yeah, I don't think so. Everyone seems to have agreed, I believe.
Does anyone disagree?
So I guess if anyone opposes, that may be an easier way to do it. Just say so now. But other than that, I think we're okay to approve.
Thanks, Max.
Yep.
All right. Strategic plan. Thank you, guys. We got through a lot of goals just then, so that's fabulous. Let's move on. I know we looked at the strategic plan last time. I'll pull that up again just so we have a good visual here. Damon, you did a great job last time of highlighting different points that we might need to take out or reconsider. Here is our, and granted in the PDF form, it's looking a little funky, but our strategic plan for the next 3 years. Now, we went over this pretty extensively last time. I believe the parts we took out were more of the redundancies and website related ones. Now that we have a functional website that has been brought up and Michael's been working really hard on, I think we're great there. Hopefully you guys had a chance to take a look at our strategic plan in between our last meeting and today. Did anyone see anything that was of concern to you or anything from our last meeting that you wanted to address again before we motion to approve this? I know we did a lot with this last time, so it might be kind of.
I move that we approve the strategic plan as presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, cool. That was easy. Awesome, thank you guys. So that, I mean, that was sort of what we did last time. Grants program, I know that we are running low on time, but Amanda, would you want to share your screen or would you like me to click on these?
Sure. If you want to click on the grant application, please, Kate, then I can just maybe provide a quick update on where we are, if that's useful. So the grants committee had a work session on December 1st and finalized, or mostly finalized, the application form and the press release to announce the grant cycle, slightly delayed for the 2021 cycle. We confirmed that the maximum grant amount, as discussed earlier, will be $4,000, but recognizing that grant applications may come in lower than that, and those can be negotiated as well. And we also encourage grantees to seek supplemental funding if they have larger projects in mind. This is all, of course, under the $16,000 limit for grants for 2021 as previously approved by the commission. The other, I think, important thing to note about the application that was confirmed after the council meeting is that we've added Wayway as a sister city, well, friendship city, and so we've specifically welcomed grant applications related to Wayway. And we also went ahead and removed Plebin from the top because it's sort of in a, I guess, a dormant status. So those were, I think, the most substantive adjustments to the application. And we also reviewed the timeline for the revised grant cycle, with the application deadline, as noted previously, is January 15th. We're really hoping to get the press release and announcement out this week, I think, is the hope. And we're working with the city communications team, and Michael's great help with updating the website is sort of the foundational stuff we needed to do the announcement. But our hope is to get the word out this week, to give folks about a month to apply by January 15th. We'll then receive the applications and provide an update to the larger commission with recommendations around the grants for the February 16th meeting. And we'll have a work session before that on February 9th, which we've already gotten on the books for the grants committee. So I think those are the major updates related to timeline. Just a couple of other items we discussed in that work session related to grants. One was to review the timeline for completing the past cycle grant projects given delays due to COVID. So we agreed to extend the deadline until December 31st, 2021. We had already talked with, as a full commission, about extending that into 2021, but we agreed after getting checking status of the grantees. We've confirmed that they're all intending still to complete their projects in 2021. We know some may not happen until the latter part of the year, and have asked them to keep us updated, particularly as travel planning can resume with the COVID vaccine. So the 2019-2020 grant cycle will continue on through December 31st to fulfill those commitments. And then finally, just to note, Elizabeth, we talked about Stacey Evans, you mentioned her photos for the website earlier, but also one item that I wanted to flag is that we had reviewed her presentation that she'd shared a few months ago with all of us from her work. And the grants committee would like to recommend that she present her results or share her results at the next meeting in January, if we have room in our agenda to include her. And I had agreed I would reach out to her and extend that invitation if that still seems desirable for the commission to hear the results of that, that project. So I think that's the summary from our December 1st meeting, but let me just see if my grants committee colleagues have anything to add. Thank you.
The only thing that I would add, Amanda, is that we were hoping, by we, I say I had been in touch with Brian Wheeler about getting our communications out about the opening of the applications, et cetera. And so we were hoping that today we could determine the media contact person.
Yes. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
And I know Amanda had reached out once to Damon asking if he might do it. I would. You can?
Yeah, I just saw that note today. I somehow missed it. I could, but Adrian, by all means, feel free to be that person. That's fine with me.
I really don't want to, this being my first year. I really am still feeling like I'm getting my feet wet and learning. Now, Damon, of course, that would take you out of contention too, since it's your first year. But
I mean, I don't mind doing it. I speak to the media for work. So
my suggestion there, Damon, was in part because you're a co-chair of the commission, and so sure. I think generally it's been our chair and co-chair who have generally had the media contact, but that was the reason for my suggestion of you. But
that's fine with me.
Okay.
Want me to email you like the best contact information?
Yes, please.
You and Brian.
Yes, Brian, what will we need? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if Damon could send me his best email and phone number for tomorrow, that'd be great. We can get the release out tomorrow. It's ready.
Oh, cool. I'll send it to you once we wrap up.
Sounds good.
And just if I can squeeze in a question kind of sideways from the outreach group, if we want to put an announcement on Instagram about this, because tomorrow's the big breaking day, where could we get some images? I mean, you have to be careful when you go online. You just can't take any old image that you find, right?
So I'll answer that. As long as you're searching for something that's Creative Commons or public domain, it's fine to reuse, typically with attribution. So an example is the one that I used for Wewe, was a Creative Commons image. So it requires attribution, and if you look at the alt text for it, I've got the person who took the picture in there. But
And
typically
you find
Google,
images on Creative Commons just by Googling Creative Commons?
if you're doing an image search in Google, you know, where you've gone to Google, you've typed in whatever you're searching for, and then you go to the images tab. One of the options underneath there is to search by license type. Let me go look at that real quick. And images under the tools. Under tools, there's a usage rights, and so you can choose Creative Commons licenses. And typically those are the Creative Commons licenses. You can use it. You can generally for non-commercial, sometimes for commercial. You can modify it as long as the original author has attribution.
Could I request then from our sister city reps, so that's Elizabeth and Dave, and Stella's on outreach anyway, but I don't know who for Wayway, that you maybe put into Google Docs a few images that we might use as we move month to month, and well, especially right now for the grants. I'm partial to Pojo, obviously, but it would be great to have other photos from the other cities just to announce the grant program.
I'm happy to help out with that. And are we talking now about what Michael suggested earlier, which is a folder on our Google Drive into which we will put photos either that have been given to us, you know, or we have taken, or else that we have found in public domain?
I created a folder in the communications and outreach called media, and then created a
Already
subfolder
there.
for each sister city.
Oh, fantastic.
And that's already on the drive, Michael?
Yep, and I'm trying to, it's a little bit painful, but I'm trying to extract all the images out of the Wix site and put them over there as well.
Thanks, Michael.
Okay.
And I emailed out just earlier in this meeting a link to a folder with a bunch of pictures from Winneba, that they're all sort of in the public domain if you want to use any of those. So Adrian, you were on that email too. So
Wonderful. Thanks, guys. That'd be fabulous if we got the word out through social media for sure. So fabulous. Anything else, Grants Committee, that you want to share before we move on?
No, I think that that the big next step is to get the word out starting tomorrow, and we invite everybody and encourage our whole commission to help cross promote the opportunity, get the word out, and then we'll probably need to do another push right after the holidays. So those are the next steps, and really thank Brian and his team and Michael for all the communication support. And Michael, I will help with the content on the webpage for grants too, with some of the past grants information too. But I think we can go ahead with since the application is now online, I think we can go ahead and I'll try to provide more content to you as soon as possible.
Okay, and I had a real quick question. I was noting that, how do people submit the grant application? Do they email it to us? It's not real clear on the website. So I just wanted to put a one line or something there to say what to do with it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be emailed or can be mailed. I believe it says on the form itself. Let's see.
Yeah. So the application section, it says email to csistercities@gmail.com. or mail to, or snail mail it to our PO box with the city.
And who gets that email?
Right,
Who-
exactly. If they email it to SeavilleSisterCities.com, who actually receives that?
So I have access to that, as does Damon and Amanda.
Have access
So
to.
I think in
Okay.
past years, Amanda, you've been the one to access the email and
Yeah, Terry helped me connect me with it last year, and then I kind of managed the grants communications. And we'll use that email to correspond with the applicants in response. So that will, we'll use that, and I can keep an eye on it.
wonderful. All right, moving on to next agenda item, steps moving forward with Wayway. So last Monday, City Council, as was mentioned, approved for us to move forward with this friendship city status with Wayway, which is fabulous. So the next steps moving forward would be for our city manager to reach out. That's sort of in our guidelines of our city manager reaching out with information about Charlottesville to their mayor. I don't know exactly how that process works out. Terry or Dave, I don't know if you guys have any information as with like, I don't know if Winneba, what that process was like, or what we would request specifically from our city manager to do with that information. It just says information. So
I think we probably will, they'll probably want us to draft a letter for the city manager.
yeah,
So Winneba was, it's now 11 years ago, and I know I don't have a copy of that original correspondence, but I'm sure we can come up with something. I'm happy to take a first stab at it, or somebody, or I don't want to step on Joan's toes if she would rather do it, but
yeah. I haven't heard from Joan since all of this, so I'm not sure if she's, I don't know. I'm hoping that she's aware of all this great stuff that's happened since then. But yeah, we can, that'd be awesome, Dave. And I'm happy to help you with that if you want to start like a Google Doc or something, and we can sort of take a stab at drafting that letter for our city manager to send out to Wayway. But that next step in the process, I don't know if you guys saw in the email that was sent last week, but just sort of our guidelines for moving forward with that friendship city process. So the next step is reaching out to them and sort of getting word from their mayor on, does this sound like a good thing or not? And then just sort of waiting to hear back and then moving forward. So that's sort of the next step in the process. But it's pretty fabulous that council is down to move forward with this. So Dave, I can be in contact with you for moving forward with that. And we can include Joan in that too, so that we can draft this out. But yeah.
You may also want to just check with SCI. They may have, they may have some, I don't know, documents or templates that process that's outlined.
Yes.
I think they do, Kate, because I was not related to this, but related to something else in preparation for a presentation. I was looking on their website, and I think they actually do have it fairly well spelled out, this, the steps. Plus, I imagine, like Terry says, there are sample documents, or maybe even a template you can just plug your stuff into. It'd be great not to have to reinvent it.
Yeah. It should be pretty straightforward anyway. I don't see why they would not like this, but you never know. So yeah, well, wonderful. Well, thank you all. And Damon and I have been in touch with the Virginia rep, who I'm sure would be an awesome resource as well with this process moving forward. So we can chat with Fred too and see if he's got any points.
Yeah, I have a call into him, and haven't heard back from him. I'm sure we'll talk.
Awesome.
Is everybody receiving emails from him about the events?
Should be.
I think so. I mean, I know I am. And so I just wondered if he has all our email addresses or.
He does. We have passed them on to him. So apologies for flooding your inbox, guys. But yeah, he's very active. He's been a part of Sister Cities for a long time. So he is very knowledgeable. And honestly, if anyone has any questions about moving forward with anything, like, please reach out to him. Fred is a bank of knowledge on any sister cities related stuff. So definitely, if you have any questions, as you guys know, Damon and I are very new to these roles, but Fred knows a lot. So use him as a resource. One last thing before we leave, I'm going to make it real quick. I know that when we had our retreat, forgot who mentioned this specifically, but the idea that having our subcommittees meet once a year is kind of, I don't know, it's not as effective as if we were sort of meeting as subcommittees throughout the year. And so I added that last agenda item with this idea that perhaps we propose, at least in this virtual setting, setting up meeting times for our subcommittees to meet and sort of just go over the goals and move forward with, you know, anything that, with any sort of business that they'd want to attend to. My thought is quarterly, so once every 3 months or so, having those subcommittees meet for 45 minutes or so to an hour, kind of like how we set up the retreat. But doing that so that we don't make these goals and then they just kind of go off into the ether with the year, because we're all busy people, obviously, and it's hard to keep up. But what are your guys' thoughts on that? I see a thumb up. Okay.
Easy for me to say yes, because the grants subcommittee has already had to do a few. So
Okay.
it's kind of, natural to our own jobs.
And I know that we have time dedicated to us. What was that? We have like our 1 hour or so for this meeting, and then we also have 3 hours each month extra to work with. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. And again, that's for, let's see, that's for the time being. So that's, COVID friendly rules. So that may change, but yes, you have the option of having some subcommittee meetings also.
Fabulous.
During non-COVID times, this is kind of weird because a lot of us have just been a part of this during the COVID period.
Mhm.
How do subcommittee meetings work outside of Zoom? I mean, how are they made public? Is it just the minutes, or are they video? How does that work?
Mhm. Hey, Brian, do you mind chiming in here?
Sure. This is a great question. And typically, if more than 2 of you are gathering, so if 3 of you are getting together as a subcommittee, that is a public meeting. And it's required that we advertise the meeting on the website calendar. We have to do so, 3 business days in advance. And you have to be prepared to have the public show up at those meetings, and the local press as well. And, I've heard other boards and commissions say, oh, but we'd like to have a retreat at our house, or, oh, we'd like to just gather at a coffee shop, just have a quick committee meeting. The venue, you can pick the venue, but if there are more than 2 of you, you need to invite everyone to that event. So you could meet at Java, but you have to advertise that as a public event. And then, maybe that's then not the most appropriate location. So it is a constraint on some boards and commissions, and as a result, sometimes they only have more ad hoc committees of 2 people to do research and work on things. If there's just 2 of you, then we don't have to advertise it as a public meeting. And if you want to do that when we start having in-person meetings again, you would work with Max, and you can schedule a meeting room in City Hall, and what this looks like post-COVID, and are we continuing to offer virtual access? That's a great question. I could envision us, offering a hybrid approach, until the end of summer next year, in that some people won't be comfortable meeting in person. But when we pivot to that hybrid approach, we have to be very thoughtful about which room you're meeting in physically. Does it have the right microphones and cameras so that we can capture that experience and make it accessible to those that don't want to be there in person? When it's 100% virtual, you're taking care of your own camera, your own microphone, and it's easier to invite everyone to participate. When we go hybrid and it's some of both, it's more complicated. We are outfitting CitySpace as a remote broadcast site, so it will have fixed cameras and facilitate community Zoom meetings. That's one of the initiatives we've launched to get ready, for the first 9 months or so of next year.
Is there the potential that we could have subcommittee meetings in a virtual format into the future? I mean, just for those reasons, so people could easily watch and see what we're doing. I mean, it's nice to be together because we like each other's company, but it might be more practical for the subgroups to meet virtually.
Yeah. Well, right, as Max pointed out, right now you have permission to do that. There's just a cap on the number of hours total in a given month. So the Sister Cities Commission can have up to 6 hours of Zoom time. And you can divvy that up, whether it's your regular meeting or piggybacking a bunch of committee meetings. But as to the future, can that be an ongoing part of the equation? I think that's to be determined as to what that looks like. It will be interesting to me to see if people are more longing for, the face-to-face after all of this experience, or if they're like, oh, we've gotten so used to Zoom, let's just keep doing that. I can do it from home. It's more convenient. The same rules would apply. We'd still have to allow other people to come participate. We'd still have to advertise it. You'd still have to take minutes, those kinds of things.
Thank you for the
Thank
clarification.
you.
Yeah. So
Brian, can you just clarify when you say advertise, what exactly does that look like? What's required?
It means we have to have it posted on the city's website calendar, and actually state law requires us to put up a physical piece of paper in the NDS hallway. So we have to have it in 2 locations in City Hall. So it appears on a screen, website calendar, and then it has to have a physical posting. Right now, we're not doing that because of the pandemic, but as soon as City Hall is open, we will have to put up a physical notice as well. And that has to go up 3 business days in advance.
gotcha. Right. So more meetings to come. I know our next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, January 19th, and I can make a goal of getting some date proposals for that for a subcommittee meeting so that we can look at those and chat about them coming up. I know it's hard to plan months out in advance, so I'm just gonna toss out.
You can mark the grants committee off your list. We already have one planned.
There you go. Nice job.
At least one.
Fantastic. Well, wonderful.
Did you say, Brian, 6 hours per month? Allotted to the,
Correct. So the first 3 hours are given to every board and commission. We have over 30 boards and commissions that are doing Zoom meetings. And then on a first come, first served basis, there's an additional 3 hours available. So for example, right now, we have reservations in for this committee in January and February to take advantage of another 3 hours. But it needs to be on, the max of 2 different dates. So you can't like have 1 hour one day, Monday, 1 hour Tuesday, 1 hour Wednesday. We're trying to get you to merge those things into 2 events at most. You could have 1 6-hour event. You could have 2 3-hour events
so maybe
in a
something.
month.
Yeah, so maybe something similar to the retreats.
oh,
format
that's
where
how we did we did the goals that way, where each subcommittee took a 45-minute chunk.
That's
I
right.
got-
Yeah, I've been using you as an example of a super efficient board and commission that's piggybacking your committee meetings like that.
Well, thank you.
And Damon mentioned that we're taking an hour or so in February, so we are not touching the 3 hours in January. The grants subcommittee, is that correct? It's all yours, other
Good boy.
committee.
So this might mean that the rest of the subcommittees, if we can coordinate to all meet on the same day within that what, a 3-hour block of time. It's easier in terms of scheduling on the city's end, but it also lets us be more efficient, perhaps, if some of us are on more than one subcommittee.
Yep, I think that's a
Do I
great
have
idea.
that right? Okay.
I
Well,
can
that's going to be interesting. You know, that's going to be maybe a trick to schedule logistically, Kate.
totally, but what I can do if it's cool
Already.
is I can send out a doodle poll with some dates in January, and you guys fill it out, and then maybe we can get some dates planned in January that work for our group at large, and that way we can get some more stuff done with those goals. Because I know that we have a few subcommittees that have some work to do now that things have happened. So yeah, I can, I'll make a doodle poll. I know I have a snow day tomorrow, so I've got some time. No, I'm not rubbing it in, sorry, but I have a snow day tomorrow with Admiral County Schools, so I'm gonna work on that doodle poll. But I'll get that out to you guys for those subcommittee meetings in January. That could be our first quarterly subcommittee meeting, and that can be fabulous. Wonderful. All right, I have at the end here, and that it doesn't need to be everyone involved. I actually, unfortunately, need to get going, but Finance Committee, we need to develop a budget proposal for the upcoming year. So that is something that we need to work on. We could do it now. I don't know if it's also something that we could move to that date in January as well. I know we've been here for a while, but moving that, I know that, I don't know. What are your thoughts, guys?
How urgent is it that we have a budget? I mean, is there a concrete reason that we need it now as opposed to 1 month from now?
And I don't know, maybe Max, you have an answer for that possibly, or Terry? Working on a budget for the year ahead, is it absolutely necessary that we have one set now, or is it something that we can develop in January for the year ahead?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
There's no reason to, have it right now.
Yeah, especially since we don't know what funds are allocated to us, it might be fine to push it back, but maybe we can work in a finance committee meeting in that January session, and that way we can devote time that is not an hour plus into our already existing meeting to do a finance sesh, if that's cool with you guys. I don't know, Michael, I know.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead, Terry.
I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, in COVID time, I think it's a little less important because there's not a lot of activity. In a normal year, if there were delegations traveling, delegations visiting, and there was, money that needed to be spent, it would be, more important to have a working budget. But at this point, I would say just you want to get it done. But yeah, I don't think it matters so much whether it's today or in a month.
Is the finance group one of the subcommittees?
Yes.
Is there a finance subcommittee?
Yes and no. Michael, I know you're our treasurer, so.
Yeah. And I've been working on trying to get a budget format together, but I don't know if there's a true subcommittee.
Yeah, and then I know Kina's in charge of sort of our relations to city, like just reporting on that regard. And I know Damon. Uh-oh. He froze.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
What, Damon?
Or would it be helpful for us to look? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Would it be helpful for us to look at what you've done or to give you some feedback now? Or is it really not in a place that we can provide a lot?
Give me till January. I'm working directly out of the box, or not box, sorry, that's UVA. I'm working directly out of the Google Drive in the budget folder. I moved things around to try and organize which budget year they were. And also I put all of the attachments that Max had sent out with the official city view of the budget in there as well. And so I'll keep poking at that. And then, yeah, I'd like to show it off at January.
Okay, cool.
Maybe would it be appropriate that we all take a look at Michael's materials a day or two before the meeting so we know what we're working with? Or
Yeah, I can put it in the agenda as a link, kind of like what I did this time, and just we can all take a peek in advance.
Max, I got a question for you. I don't know if you can answer or not, but do you happen to know, or Brian, do you happen to know when the city manager is going to unveil his proposed budget for next year?
I believe that there is a proposed budget presented at the beginning of March. And again, Brian, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You have a little bit more experience than I am in this area. But
I'm
yeah, I
looking at the
believe it's,
calendar right now. It looks like March 1st, Dave,
Yeah.
is when that goes to council.
Okay. From my experience, if this allocation, the 15,000 that we're asking for, if it gets into the city manager's proposed budget, then we're in very good shape. That's not obviously the approved budget, the final approved budget, but odds are good the council's not going to pull it out of the budget if it's in his proposed budget. So we should know by March if we're in good shape. So.
I wonder if we should invite him to our January meeting to watch the presentation from the last grant awardee we were talking about.
I think
That's a
that's
great idea.
fabulous. Especially since we need him to send this letter to Wayway's mayor too. Might be a nice like, hey, check out the work we're doing. Help us with this letter. I like
do we, not to get too mired in the details, but is what Dave just said makes us want to make our proposal before March 1st so that it's in his budget that he proposes?
I think we've already submitted our request to him.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of helping him see the wisdom of including it. So, I love Damon's idea of inviting him to our January meeting.
So was our request just for a $15,000 allocation?
Correct.
And then the work in January would be figuring out how we're spending or saving a larger balance that we have currently?
I think
When
the
I say
idea-
larger, I just mean the sister city has money already beyond the 15 we're hoping we would get in the next year.
Right, and it would show the transactions that are pending, you know, that where somebody has been allocated the money for a grant or something, but maybe not requested it, and then also kind of placeholders for where we think, you know, how much money will go out in grants and other fundraising activities.
Is it traditional that the whole commission is part of the, I guess, decisions process? It's not just a small subcommittee group that is doing budget stuff.
Well, the finance committee puts together the proposal and then we approve the proposal as a commission. So if there were any glaring issues with it, I believe that's when that would come up and that could be up for discussion. Is that right, Terry? Or anyone? I think that's right.
Yes, that's right. So what the small group
Which
is
is the
going to
finance.
create a proposed budget, and then the whole commission would look at it, discuss it, make amendments, and then vote on it. And the budget you're talking about is the budget for the fiscal year that you're currently in that ends on June 30th. So you're not talking about a budget for the next year. The allocation that you might know about in March doesn't necessarily affect the budget you're discussing, but it gives you a sense of what, you know, whether you're going to have more money to work with for the following year. And so that can impact, you know, how you spend your money now, right? You might spend a little more money if you know you have more coming in next year. And if you know that you don't have more coming in, you're more likely to, you know, curtail your spending or not. It depends.
So yeah, so we can.
So I'd be glad to draft that invitation to the city manager if you like.
Thank you. That'd be fabulous. Thank
Sure.
you. Awesome.
Do we want to invite him primarily to the first of all, do we have a confirmation that our guest would like to present that day?
I know.
So maybe whoever is in touch with them? Could,
I'm following up with Stacy.
okay,
Yeah, and we'll loop you in. Mhm.
cool. All right, great. So once we know that she is good for being a part of the meeting that day, then we can go ahead and invite the city manager. Do we want to invite him primarily to that and let him know we're going to be talking budget afterwards, or just invite him mostly to the grant awardees program?
I'd imagine just the fun part, but I don't think he needs to stick
He's welcome to stay if he wants, but yeah.
We can slyly put in there that we're talking about budget stuff afterwards, and budget really impacts these amazing programs or something like that. Wink, wink.
Sounds good. We'll stick with that.
Yeah, it's great. Awesome. Well, sweet. I will send out a doodle poll to y'all tomorrow at some point. Looking at potential days outside of our January 19th date of us getting together and doing this thing again. But yeah, we can come up with some good days to talk goals and whatnot. Anything else before we leave to prepare for the snowstorm? Well, we won't be together again till after the holidays. So I hope you all have a really fabulous time off if you get it, or just time with the family, eating food, doing stuff, relaxing, getting away from your computer, I hope. Getting out in nature and having a good time. So,
Great. Well, thank you, Kate.
thank you
Thanks,
all.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.
Happy
Thanks for joining us,
holidays.
Carrie. Bye, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you. Take care.